What's the most important aspect of any business? Whether you're starting it, whether you're growing an existing business, I bet you don't know the answer. And there are 3 essential things that we're going to explore on this video that you absolutely need to check out. So today we're talking about the most important aspect of any business. And most people don't even consider this. Most people think, I don't even need to consider that until way down the road. But you know what? It needs to be considered right now in all of your success. Now, a lot of people are thinking it could be all these different aspects. You start with the leadership. Oh, leadership is so essential and so important to have right. The people behind it. Anytime I evaluate a business, I look at the leadership. So that's very, very important, obviously. And then you look at the finance. You know what? You cannot have a business or really start a business without that proper capital behind it. So we got to have that in place, of course. And you go right down the list, all the employees and building the culture, the product or service itself. That's got to be very unique. That has to be different than just about anything else you can imagine. These are essential things, but it's not the most important one. You set the goals and your quotas and your KPIs and your step-by-step process on how you build the business. Those are all exciting. For me, they're so exciting about setting up a new business, and I hope they are to you too. And then, of course, if you're doing a brick and mortar, location. You got to know where the people are that are going to come into the store, and you think about maximizing your margins, and you look at your financial management, and then what happens when things go wrong? Are you able to manage through the process, get over those hurdles, and get on to the next step? Yeah, those are so important to think about. But what I'm going to talk to you about today, something you most likely have never thought about when you're building your business, and we need to consider that first. Okay, so here we go. The most important thing you need to consider, the single most important thing to consider when starting and growing your business is the exit strategy, how you're going to exit out of it. It may seem counterintuitive, but the most important thing to plan before starting a business is that exit. People seek money in pursuit of obtaining freedom. And if your business sucks all of your time, then there was no point in starting the business in the first place. I have a good friend who started a business, and actually he acquired a business, and as he got into it, he found that it took all of his time. And so he wasn't spending quality time with other things in his life. And freedom is really one of the reasons why we started a business in the first place. So we do have more time. But if it's going to take all that time away from you, you got to consider that. So one of the things we consider in planning for a good business strategy and that ultimate exit is how much time it's going to take us to get to that point. How can we leverage other people to get to that exit strategy? I have another friend. She actually texted me the other day, and she told me about her exit. She started up with a couple $100,000 in capital, put into a business and grew it and was excited about growing it. And over the period of a few years, she was able to exit out for $9 million. And those are common things that we see when you start with that proverbial end in mind. So let's think about that. How much do you want to exit out of? Whenever you build a business, you build it with that end in mind. How are you going to exit out of it? And when you start thinking about the steps that it's going to take to exit out of a business, you're going to build a successful business because you know that you have that end goal, that end in mind. So anytime you build a business, think about how you're going to exit out of it. And when you do that, you'll automatically put in the steps of like the leadership, the culture, the proper financial management, all the different things that we've talked about will come as a result of thinking, how am I going to exit out of this business? If you don't have a plan to exit, why even start it? Why even consider starting a business or even growing it? Unless you just want to have fun. But what is the reason why you start a business? What is the reason why we get into that? And why do we want to spend all the time? The reason is because we want to make money, right? That's what a business does. It produces money. Now, it may produce some pleasure for us along the way, and we enjoy it, and it becomes our passion, so our time is well used. But there are better ways to do it as we focus on that end game of how we exit out of the business. That's the number one criteria that you need to consider in starting and building your business. Now that we've introduced the most important aspect of building your business, we're going to talk about the 3 different ways: the good, the better, and the best. And the best you'll really want to see, because this is the ultimate way that I've come across to be able to exit out and build a solid business. So as we consider that exit strategy and how we build that game plan to exit out of that business, the first standard way is to actually build and sell a business. Selling a business can be emotional and overwhelming for an owner who has put years and years into the business, and because trusted buyers are hard to find, it can be easy to settle for less than your business is worth. However, this is often better than the alternative. And I remember one time I was selling one of my businesses and I had it up for sale for $1.7 million, and I was so excited. Okay, I got a buyer came along. I had several buyers looking at it, and they came along and they looked at it and they found that this was what they wanted. And so they put the offer in. We went through the whole due diligence process, and after a couple months, they were ready to stroke the check for $1.7 million. I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be awesome. But then what happened is at the 11th hour, we got an email and say, you know what, we're not going to do this after all. And the reason why is because I had one of my employees, and I take responsibility, I shouldn't have introduced certain employees to those potential buyers. And this employee basically said, hey, you know what? You don't need to buy this for $1.7 million. I know everything he's doing, and I can take it and I can give it to you for much less, and we'll just build the business together. And so he did that, and they backed out. I thought, why did I introduce that particular person or even some of the people to the business? So that's what happens when you sell a business sometimes, is you get other people involved with it, and they make it difficult to get that transaction done. So I lost $1.7 million because one of my employees went around me. So you have to be really cautious about how you're building a business and how you're going to exiting out of that business. But there are better ways. The second most standard way in exiting out of business is to close and sell our assets. So the second option is to close up shop and just sell your assets as quickly as possible. Those include real estate and inventory, equipment. Well, this method is simple and can happen very quickly. You only make the money from the assets you're able to sell. And years of building up your business can disappear overnight. I remember years ago, I owned a cell phone store, and I was working on it to operate it semi-absentee owned. So I wasn't in the store all the time. I had employees taking care of it for me, and another one of my employees from my other business overseeing it. So it was in good hands, and we were moving along, and it started to develop and grow a little bit. But then it came time, you know what? There's all this new technology, there's new things out there. It came time to sell it. So we put it on the market to sell the whole business, exit out of it, right? Well, not a lot of people wanted to come and buy the whole business because they saw the lease, the expense was coming through there, and they saw the employee expense. They saw that they were going to have to manage it a little bit more than they thought was going to have to happen, because I wasn't spending a lot of time in the business and it wasn't producing a lot what I expected. So that's why, one of the reasons why we put it on the market, for let someone more capable in running it. But as they saw the internal workings of the business, they didn't want to buy the whole business because of those reasons. So what we ended up doing is selling our list. We ended up selling our asset, the list of customers and some of the technologies and the contracts that we'd set up with the suppliers. So we were only able to sell the assets, but we only got a fraction of what we could have got had we been able to sell the whole business. But you know what? There is a better way, and it's the best way that I've found to build an exit strategy around a business that's almost foolproof. Now we come to the very best model that you absolutely need to consider if you're going to build a proper exit strategy in your business. Instead of going through the trouble of starting a business from scratch, running it by yourself, and struggling to sell it to a qualified buyer, there's already a system in place that has a much cleaner exit strategy, and that's franchising. In the world of franchising, I've found that there's a much higher multiple. So when you go to sell your business, because you're already part of a brand name, it's usually easier to sell the business because of that brand name, and because there's a system in place, and because there's support, and it's a clean business, because they're already living up to high standards of that franchise agreement. Even though it's their own business and they have the freedom and they have the time, they got all this support and all this help to help you exit, but also to manage the business. So someone buying it knows it's much cleaner operation than some little independent out there that they don't know what has happened. So that's why franchising has a tendency to gain a much higher multiple upon exit. Over the years, as I've helped many, many people build their own franchise business, I've seen them build it up and be able to exit out because franchising has all that help and support to help them do so. So franchise equity becomes an essential piece of pretty much any business portfolio in the world that I've been in. As a franchise owner, you have an opportunity to build equity through that performance of the business, and you can also profit from the sale of the business when the time is right. That's equity. So the beautiful thing about franchising too is as you get it started and you pick the right one, you're able to build some cash flow. And guess what that cash flow does? It transforms into equity because we take that multiple of the cash flow and build it up and exit out in a very strong way. But the other thing is that I like about the world of franchising, it has a very high success rate. Many statistics show that it's as high as 89%. So you have a better chance of succeeding in a business of your own by owning a franchise, but also you're getting higher multiples at the end so that you can exit out very strongly and help set your family up for life. So as we consider that franchise exit and how to do it, there's several things that make it easier for us to exit out on a franchise. The beauty of a franchise lies not just in the ease of a startup, but also in the simplicity of exit. When looking to sell, other current franchisees are often looking to expand their portfolio, not to mention new franchisees looking to get in the game. Cashing out on the equity you build in a franchise can be a rewarding end to a long and profitable business investment. You know, I think of a lot of these franchisees as they jump into the business, and even though there's a very high success rate and the chance is very high that you'll succeed in the franchise as you're following the system, once in a while there's someone that comes along and maybe it's not quite to their expectations. And the way that we manage through that is we help them exit out because they no longer want to be involved with the business. So as we help them exit, we have the pool of the other franchise owners that can jump in and help build it back up, and there's still a successful exit because we have all the other franchisees in place. So that's one of the things that makes franchise exit strategy so effective and with a good ROI is because there's other franchisees in the system that can come in and help out and maybe even buy it out. So there's that insurance policy, almost if you want to call it that allows you to succeed in the business itself as well as exit out profitably. In order to have a successful exit out of a franchise business, you got to start with a proper game plan. And most of the time that's a little bit challenging to do on your own. So this is where you need the help of some experts, people who've been through it, who care about your success. I care about your success. We do want to help you, and that's the power of franchising. There's nothing else like it. And so let us help you. So click the link below, and one of my team members will reach out to you and get you on the proper path to exit strategy success. Thank you for watching today. I hope you've learned a little bit about how you can exit out of a business successfully. So don't forget to subscribe and click the link below for the next video.